Extreme hopes are born from extreme misery. The deeper that sorrow carves into your being, the more joy you can contain. At 22, a drug and alcohol seizure led to my cardiac arrest, and I was pronounced dead. In this place of death, I had an epiphany, which brought me back to life. That was over 38 years ago now, and I am still here. With the help of some remarkable counselors, I forgave myself, my family, and I have moved on. I learned that hurt people hurt people. Now I dedicate my life to helping hurt people heal that hurt, especially kids. And I take pride in telling my story and becoming vulnerable. Vulnerability has become my greatest strength. I'm Jim Mandelin, and I share my experience, strength, and hope.
Welcome to I Share Hope, the podcast where world leaders share their real stories of hope and how you can use actionable hope to start changing your life today. And now, here's your host, Chris Williams.
Hello.
Jim, Chris Williams, how are you?
Hi, Chris.
Man, thanks for your time today.
How's the sound?
You sound great. Yeah, you sound really good. You're in a good spot, I think. Are you on a cell phone or is that a landline?
I have it's a cell phone, but it's I just finished work just about a minute ago. So I work till 5, so it works. And you have to forgive me. I work in an area where it's probably the busiest fire and rescue station down the street.
Oh, I like some background noise. That's good. It makes it real.
Yeah, that's good.
So, sir, can you just help me make sure I pronounce your name? So, Jim, and then say your last name so I get it exactly right.
Mandelin.
Mandelin, like the stringed instrument?
Yep, that's E instead of an O, but it still sounds the same.
Mandelin, I get you. Yeah. Well, I think you've seen the Interview 101 document that kind of walks you through how the interview works and what you can expect. Have you seen that?
Yeah.
Good. Well, I stick right to that. I mean, this is really easy. You've done a ton of public speaking, so I'm not worried about where you're going with this at all. You take it wherever you want, but I really just run through the 5 questions. And this is literally an international research project asking a cross-section of the globe, the 5 questions, to see what the answers come back at and see if we can really produce some sustainable hope and a way to train people and teach people how to take hope and to use it well in their communities, including me.
Okay, sounds good.
I'm having fun doing it so far. So, and you're in Alberta, Canada right now. Is that where you live?
No, I'm in Vancouver, British Columbia.
Oh, wow. That's a beautiful area.
I grew up in Alberta, but I left there.
Wow.
Long ago.
That's right. I just saw it in your bio. So what do you do? What's your job right now?
Well, I do a number of jobs, but I have for about 28 years now, I've been going to schools, telling my story to kids, and basically drawing the kids that are, troubled kids out, and they contact me. I'd say not so much the ones that are already drug addicts and alcoholics, but more the ones that are more suicidal, ones that are really hurting. Wow. And not that the drug addicts and alcoholics aren't, but they're already medicating themselves.
Sure. Right.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
So hundreds and hundreds of kids, like high school kids, that I have been working with for years, and I still am. And I just got an email probably last night, I think it was, our kids really hurting, and so been doing this on my own with no funding, because there's no funding for this unless you're a PhD, and then you get all kinds of funding, and then you do research projects, but it doesn't really help the kids.
Well, at the end of the interview, I want to make sure that we get to hear where we can track you down, because obviously pointing back to your website, social media, whatever you use, we'll send as many folks that way as we possibly can.
Well, that's good.
Yeah, thank you for your time. I'm glad to have you here. So let's jump in here, and let me introduce you just real briefly, and then you tell us a little bit about yourself and what's going on, just whatever you ate for breakfast today, or you saw something funny when you were walking your dog. You can say whatever you want. And then we'll get into questions 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I'll just walk you right through it. But this is all about you, so you take it wherever you want to take it. Sound good?
Okay.
All right. Well, Jim Mandelin, thank you for being with us. You are in British Columbia, I believe Canada right now. And man, your story is incredible. I've read a lot about you on the internet, and it's not just incredible because you came from a really crazy place and you've come through that and you've succeeded, but you've really created a whole different life for yourself and for your family and for so many people and communities around you. So I really don't know how to introduce you. I guess I could say, somewhere around age 22, the drug-induced heart attack really got your attention and started turning your life around? Or do we throw in, grew up with a KKK-oriented dad, or drug dealing and debt collecting at age 15? I mean, I don't know where to go with this, but we'll get into all that in a minute, I'm sure. But what are you doing right now in British Columbia that's interesting today on a Tuesday?
Well, it's interesting that we're talking about hope here. I'm in, where you have to reach down deep inside and grab some hope. And I'm doing that right now because I've come, 27 years later of working with kids and stuff, and I'm 60 years old now, and I haven't had a lot of money in my life because I've been kind of volunteering a lot in my life. And so I'm just kind of reaching down and creating, this ball of hope so that I'm hoping that I can create some money flow so that I could, really get into doing my work with these kids, because it seems like it's just never ending. And each kid I uncover 5, 10 more. And I'm only one person. So it's just interesting that we're having this conversation now, because that is, hope is what I'm relying on now again for the millionth time, and it's kept me alive. So that's, I'm actually sitting at a desk. I got a little tech job that kind of pays the bills kind of thing and pays the rent and stuff. But,
yeah.
But it's not, doing a tech job isn't where my heart is, but it certainly is. And I'm doing a tech job working for like an organization that trains people that work in homeless shelters.
Really?
So, yeah.
Oh man, that's bringing hope to people. Wow. You bet it is.
Yeah. So it's called ShelterNet DC. It's a training hub for people that work in the homeless shelters and the women's transition houses, because they deal with a lot of addictions and mental health issues. And the ShelterNet has trainers. I do all the organizing for all the training in the province from my computer.
Whoa.
So I get to talk to a lot of the managers of the shelters and stuff around the province over the phone, and I get to know them really well that way. But I'm by myself in an office, in downtown Vancouver. So, it's kind of strange.
But I tell you, man, I know you speak to a huge number of youth, and a lot of conferences, a lot of speaking, so many awards you've gained over the years through that. You've just done so much. But even in your office, away from quote unquote the people you're trying to help, I bet the people who are calling you back and that you're supporting, and they need somebody back there keeping them on track, not just with the technology, but really just saying, how was your day, and letting them unwind a little bit,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, Jim, I want to ask these questions. So if anybody's new listening in, we are asking 1,000 people around the world these 5 questions about hope, trying to figure out what is a really good global grasp of how people are using hope in their lives, in their communities, to share with each other, however they want to use that to move things forward. And so, Jim, question 1, and all this is answered however you want. There's no magic sauce here. What's your definition of hope, or your favorite quote about hope?
I actually have 2 favorite quotes about hope. One is, the first one, they were both really short, but they're really powerful to me. One's by Bertrand Russell, and it says, "Extreme hopes are born from extreme misery." Okay?
Mm-hmm.
That's just hits me right in the heart.
Yeah.
And then the other quote on the hope is by Kahlil Gibran, one of my favorite authors. He said, "The deeper that sorrow carves into your being, the more joy you can contain."
Oh, wow. That's a good one, too. And
that's from his poem called "On Joy and Sorrow."
I'm going to get ahead of us. I can't do that yet. Okay, then those are good quotes. I have a big question about quote number 2, and how do you capture that joy in your heart? But we'll ask that around question 4 or 5. But right now, then, who's shared the most hope with you? And we'll get more in question 3. We'll get more into your story and where you came from. But who has really given that kind of hope and encouraged you down that kind of path in your life?
Well, my first, I got just a few who gave me the most hope. It's not just one person. Or my first hope came from my dog Lassie when I was a small child.
Mm-hmm.
Lassie hated adults, didn't trust them, and just loved me and my little brother. And we called her Mum.
Oh, wow.
Because I didn't grow up without him. I grew up without a mum.
Sweet. Wow.
And then there was, I talk about it in my book I wrote about my story. I talk about a few, you can count them on one hand, a few random acts of kindness by strangers that stuck with me, and consequently when I died was my epiphany that turned my life around as I remembered, for some reason, your life flashes before your eyes when you die. Well, the only thing that flashed before my eyes was these few random acts of kindness, and I wondered if that was what love was, and I didn't know. But I thought, if that is, I have to find out. So those people that gave me those random acts of kindness, the doctor that worked on me to bring me back to life, and another very, very, and I think probably the most special person is my counselor, Lila Van Steinberg. She was a 60-year-old counselor who was the kindest person I'd ever met, and have ever met. And she became my counselor in 1983. She passed away after 5.5 years from cancer. But she gave me something, and that was in 1989 that I last saw her. And she's always with me, put it that way. She's my pillar.
Yeah. I know what you mean. Wow. It's a special relationship and a hard one to lose.
Yeah.
Lassie, the dog. Several other guests have mentioned their pets, and you're right. Boy, there's a unique place that animals have in our hearts. And not animals is the wrong word. They really are our friends. They're our family. They get so deep in our.
Yeah, she licked a million tears from my face.
Wow.
I would lay in the grass and cry as a little kid when I was like 5 and 6 and 7 and so on. I'd lay in the tall hay because I grew up on a farm, and I'd run away because the family were so mean to each other. And I would just cry, and Lassie would lay beside me and just lick my tears. I can still feel it, her tongue on my cheek.
Oh, well, question 3, tell us your story. What's gone on back there that's that's driven you to hopelessness, just take us back and start from wherever you want to start.
I was wondering if I could read a poem that I wrote.
Please, love that. Yeah.
It summarizes my story from the beginning to recovery. And it's not that long. It's only one page and a short sentence.
Oh, we got plenty of time. Thank you.
But I call it How Violence is Born. My whole childhood was filled with violence. My mother escaped that violence. She ran away when I was 3. Brother was 1. She was only 18. She never came back. And I never got one hug after that. My father was a member of the Klu Klux Klan. He drank and then beat everyone up, including me. He would punch me to the ground, and when I could stand up and not cry, he would say, "That's my boy." My father sexually assaulted me in his drunken darkness. His sister molested me by night. By day, she was just mean. I was terrified by 4, peed my bed till I was 15. My uncle beat me often. I never knew why. See, I was always a good kid, always obeyed. One day, at gunpoint, my uncle made my brother and I kill our puppies. I was 12, brother was 10. He made us hold the puppies' heads underwater. They all died. I started to hate that day, and crime entered my life. I was bullied every day in school. Even some teachers were cruel. One, she wouldn't let me go to use the toilet. I pooped my pants 6 times that year in her class. I was only 7. I tried to hang myself by a rope at the age of 11. My aunt cut me down. Severe poverty is what I lived with as a kid. Never had a pair of shoes that fit. Never saw a doctor or a dentist. Pulled one of my own teeth out. Used a pair of pliers. I was only 11. So, at 15, I too escaped the violence. But then, in the streets, there was just a different kind. I became homeless, a drug user, a drug dealer, and I went to prison. In and out, in and out. In prison, I was recruited into a gang where I finally got a hug. My gang family swept me up. And then, soon, I too became violent. At 22, a drug and alcohol seizure led to my cardiac arrest, and I was pronounced dead. In this place of death, I had an epiphany, which brought me back to life. That was over 38 years ago now, and I am still here. With the help of some remarkable counselors, I forgave myself, my family, and I have moved on. See, I learned that hurt people hurt people. Now I dedicate my life to helping hurt people heal that hurt, especially kids. And I take pride in telling my story and becoming vulnerable. Vulnerability has become my greatest strength. And I dedicate my poem to all the people whose stories will never be told because they didn't survive.
Thank you.
So that's my poem.
It's beautiful and sad and hopeful. How have you really left things behind? How have you moved on?
Well, that's a really good question. But before I start talking about that, I just wanted to say that in my darkest times, I still somehow, some way, I thought I was going to make it.
Huh.
There's an old saying that says, you probably heard it, faith without works is dead.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I say hope without action is dead.
Hmm.
And if you want to change something, first off, you have to come to the realization that you need change. Lots of people don't think that. It's called denial. But I came to that realization when I died, and I saw that there was a few people that maybe only lasted 5 or so minutes, but that stuck with me somehow, and I didn't remember it throughout my life until I died. And the doctor who had put an apple, orange, and banana on my pillow, and I didn't know who it was, and never came to take anything from me, because usually if someone gives, they take. That's what my experience was.
Mm-hmm.
And so I thought, I wonder who was putting that apple, orange, and banana on my pillow, and why did Jimmy Williams stand up for me in grade 7 when he was the most popular kid? You know, he risked it all.
Mm-hmm.
And the cowboy who bought me a burger and a pop in the cattle auction and didn't feel me up like all the pedophiles tried to. And so I thought, you know, I gotta do something. And my doctor said to me, promise me something. And usually people would say, promise me you'll quit drinking and drugging. Well, she didn't say that to me. She said, promise me that you will find out why you got so wrecked.
Hmm.
Well, for 38 years now, I have been reading and studying and Googling and everything else to find out and read and study the cutting edge people, you know, Dr. Gilbert Matte, John Bradshaw from Texas, you know, Alice Miller from Switzerland, you know, people. I read these books inside out and backwards trying to find why I got so much pain inside. And I found out, and now I found out why so many kids have pain inside. So I have found the secret. Now, that just because you find out why doesn't mean it just goes and vanishes. I spent a lot of time in therapy, and people have asked kids and people in universities who I talk, say, so what you know, you only got 5 minutes here, what do you got? What can you sum it up in a few words? What is it that you did? Number one is I tell my story. Telling my story breaks the shame, and I'm going to use John Bradshaw. It breaks the shame that binds me, that bound me to silence. And if you share what's in your heart, you share what's in your deepest heart, you become vulnerable, and people trust vulnerable people. And so I started sharing what was in my deepest heart, my story. And when I shared my story, I started to feel again. And when I started to feel again, I started to trust again. And it wasn't a pretty road. I like one of my favorite people is Joseph Campbell. And he talks about, you know, in the hero's journey, he talks about going down the road, and then then you have to go through the bush, find the deepest, darkest part of the forest, and blaze a trail through that. Because if you find a trail and you follow it, it's someone else's, and you can falter. So find the deepest, darkest part of the forest and make your own trail. And that's what I had done, and I love that. So it has been the hardest thing you could possibly do, because I took drugs and alcohol from the age of 8 to try and manage my pain. And when I quit drinking and drugging, how was I going to manage my pain? Well, I smoked 4 packs of cigarettes a day. I drank about 6 to 12 cans of Coca-Cola a day. I probably ate about a dozen donuts a day.
Wow.
And I was overweight. I was numbing myself out, and one day it didn't work anymore, and I was 7 years clean and sober. And I thought, I feel like killing myself. And there was a .38 revolver that I had talked one of my friends out of using, and I thought of using it myself. And the only thing that stopped me was I had 2 little boys in that bedroom. And I thought, I can't do that to them. So what do? So somebody had told me, why don't you find a counselor? And so that's where I found Lila the next day.
Okay.
And so she said to me, Jim, if you can trust me, I will show you how the pain of your childhood is still in your life today. And I said, well, I feel in pain now. What's my childhood got to do with it? She said, if you trust me, I will show you how everything from your childhood, all that pain, is in your life now and controlling your life now. And she was right. And she said, tell me your story. And that's it. And that's the short version of a lot of painful stuff that I did, and ended up in the psych ward a few times from exhaustion and a few other things. But I pushed through, and she said, you were born with a strong constitution. I don't know if that's true or not, but I just knew that I said to myself in the beginning, if I have to crawl through broken glass on my bare belly for the next 5 years, I'm going to do that, because I don't want to be where I was. And quite frankly, sometimes it felt like I was crawling on broken glass.
Yeah, I bet.
In bare belly. Didn't think I was gonna live in them numerous times, but things changed.
So I want to know. I want to know. I don't know if anybody else wants to know, but I want to know. Do you really feel like you've been able to move on? Because I feel like the pain in my past, even though I'm going through lots of counseling and have been for quite a while, and I'm really, really active and very vulnerable and telling my story. I'm going and going and going, but I still feel like, man, this thing is just, it's hanging on. Why can't I get rid of this thing following me? I can't shake it. You really feel like you've been able to clear away?
Well, you know what? That's a really, really good point. Chris, what I call it is, I don't know anybody that has completely wiped out all the stuff from their childhood and they're just doing perfect. I don't know anybody like that. And I know thousands and thousands of people in recovery.
Mm-hmm.
What I want to say is, it's like you work through something and it takes you a year and a half of painful struggle, and you work through, and then all of a sudden the light comes in, you lift, the load lifts, and you feel good. You feel good, and you're going down the road, and you're feeling good, and things are working, and then you turn around and go around a corner, and then bang! It's like,
yeah.
What is that? I call it same crap, deeper level.
I like
and
that.
How deep down the rabbit hole does this whole thing go? I don't know. But I do know one thing. Each time that I work through something, the quality of my life improves. Is it perfect? I don't think so, because like right now I've been in counseling. I started in 1983. I started in recovery in 1977. And, I'm in therapy right now, and I'm working on a piece of my life that was kind of left to last. I guess it's the last bastion of crap that I have to deal with, and it's the deeper level of it. And it's about me deserving to have finances in my life. I have, I haven't stolen anything. I haven't fraudulently, did anything. So I haven't done any crimes, but I've lived below a poverty line that I shouldn't have lived below. There was a time when I made good money when I was a counselor, but I spent it all on my kids, so my kids didn't have to suffer as much. And my kids are all grown up and gone. And I'm realizing that, right now I have given so much of myself away. For example, I go in and they tell me, after I've done my talk and I've done workshops for a bunch of kids or kids in prison, which I go into quite often, and they say, we should hire you because we've had numerous psychologists and PhDs come in here and work with these kids, and they don't get anywhere with them. They don't open up. There's a kid over there that's been 3 years. He hasn't said a word to anybody. And you come in here, and the kid is throwing his arms around you and crying and telling you everything. So we should hire you. I says, this is in the prison system. I says, okay, a government job would be really great working with these kids.
Yeah.
And so I go and we have all these meetings, and then all of a sudden we go up with the warden, and he says, hey Jim, I can't hire you because you don't have a degree, and university degree. Even though what you do works 1,000 times better than anybody from the university, I can't hire you because that's the rules of engagement here.
That's unfortunate because you've got the experience in your past and in real life meeting so many people and talking to them, and you're getting results. And we all know that somebody talking to us that's been there and that's honest and real, man, that reaches my heart more than anything else does. More than a book, more than a lecture, more than 10 points.
And so many people tell me that. And, some people slip me in, and, I get to have a $300 honorarium and stuff like that. But for the most part, I'm working on just saying, okay, you want me to come and speak at your event or this or that. Well, this is the going rate. It's going rate for anybody. Howard could sell about $25,000 for a luncheon talk, but, I'm not as funny as him, but whatever. But, so I'm starting to move that, and that's where the hope that I'm really relying on the hope that things will get better in that area. So, so it's, a person is, for me, I don't know about anybody else, but I know that I am constantly in a state of introspection. I'm constantly looking at what I can do better. It's hard because sometimes it's like you have to change. What do they say about change? Change is the hardest thing that anybody could do.
Yeah, that's for sure.
And I love what I think it's on my website, one of the quotes that says that, when it comes, it's not the smartest, it's not the strongest, it's not the most brilliant people that will survive. It's the one that's most adaptable to change. And people aren't too adaptable to change. Yeah. And that's my middle name is change. Everything at any given moment changes for me.
Yeah. People who aren't ready for change, that's unfortunate on so many levels. And I guess we're just not wired to want to change that much. But there's so many reasons in this world and on our planet right now that changing something is a really good idea for our own little world and our own little lives, but also just for the global community here too.
It makes people uncomfortable to change. You find yourself a little rut, a little niche, and you kind of sit there. I used to know this old guy from the program. I mean, he never wrote anything, so he's not famous that way. But he used to say, he says you it's like some people they find their place and they sit down into a big plaque of cement, and the cement hardens, and that's where they stay.
Yeah.
And they don't move, they don't do anything. And you know what? I'm like a tumbleweed on the prairie. I just wind comes up and it just takes me somewhere else.
It's a good analogy. Well, sir, you've answered question 4, which was, what are you doing to bring hope to other people in their lives? And you're reaching into so many kids' lives. And you've talked about question 5, how to grow in hope or share hope with somebody else, and being vulnerable. Man, you can't say that enough. And I am not great at that still, and I'm trying to be, but I'm scared to death every time I'm vulnerable. And I wonder if the little bit of hope that I feel and freedom that I feel is going to go away. And so I don't want to be vulnerable again, because I want to hang on to every little bit I just gained. And it doesn't work that way. You just have to keep opening up, and, maybe cleaning out the crap is one way that opening up helps. But also, when you open up, you get to let somebody else in, which is freaky scary, because they can hurt you if you let them in. But you can't live life in a shell. I'm trying my best to figure that out, and it's real. I know it's real, and it's hard to do, though.
Well, I have a little list, a real short, simple list of, to give some advice.
Yeah, man, I love the ABCs. Give me the checklist, yeah.
It's like a checklist. Go inward and know your truth. Do not be afraid. Franklin Delano Roosevelt said, there's nothing to fear but fear itself. And that's true. It is really true. Tell your story to an enlightened witness. Not to just anybody that can put you down, but an enlightened witness, which means a counselor, a therapist, or someone that's, has kind of gone through some stuff and is empathetic to you.
Yeah.
Of course. Search, read, discover, Google, and find out more and more about changing yourself. Seek out others that are affected with the problems you have and share. Nothing wrong with the, people with common problems.
Mm-hmm.
Then go out and share your experience, strength, and hope with others. Be kind and love yourself first, and then extend yourself to others. You can't drive someone someplace if your tank is empty.
That's a really practical list. We're going to write that down and put it in your show notes page on the website. And so speaking of searching and finding places where we can find more answers, what's the name of your website and any social media? Where can we track this stuff down?
Oh, I'm just Google me. You'll find 20 pages on me, but JimMandelin.ca. So that's spelled JIMMANDELIN.ca. There you can, on the homepage, you just right beside home is Buy Jim's book. And I'm in the process of probably within the next month, another book is being published, but I only wrote chapter 1 of that book. And it's in a collaboration with 12 PhDs from around the world, and I wrote chapter 1 to the book.
Wow. So,
I got a bunch of stuff like that. You can Facebook me, and on my website is my email address, jimmandelin@gmail.com. I'm on Facebook, I'm on LinkedIn.
Yep.
I'm on Twitter. I'm not a really, strong Twitter guy, but I'm learning.
Hey, it takes too much time to do all of that at one time. But you're right. So we're going to put JimMandelin.com on our site.
.ca.
.ca. You're right. Excuse me. JimMandelin.ca. And that's on iShareHope.com. So iShareHope.com. And if you click on the interview page, you'll be able to find Jim there. And a lot of his resources and the steps you just shared that were just really practical. So, Jim, tell me this: when people come to the site and they come to the Facebook or social media, wherever you're doing, if there's one place, is it the book? Is that where they could go and just say, "Man, I'm going to drill into this because I want to get it now," and learn? Or is there some certain link or page on your site that you say, "This is where the meat's at. Start here"?
Yeah, there's areas of my website that have recovery ideas, things like that there's pages like that basically give you kind of just I give you 7 different little advice there. I give them 7 points, but my gosh, you can go, Jim's recovery ideas, steps to recovery by Jim, recommended reading, Jim's recommended reading. I'm looking at my website right now.
Yeah, I am too. That's great.
Yeah, and I got, any of those have, lists of things like recommended reading. I mean, there's the books, the main books. I mean, I've read 600 books. Plus.
Wow.
And then if you want to just, kind of connect with me, Jim's recovery pictures. So, different pictures, Jim's childhood pictures. So see the farm, see the dogs, see me as a kid. I talk about my father's heritage. We are indigenous people from the northern Finland called the Sami people, the reindeer herders. Stuff like that, and that's a whole book in itself that I'm going to write.
Wow.
But then there's Jim's favorite videos, and there's there you could spend a month in there because there's some zeitgeist moving forward. Is a kind of a video that just really, really opened me up. I mean, maybe not a beginning one, but at first, but then there's videos to learn from. Jim's kind of philosophy, songs of change. John Lennon is one of my favorite. If you want to listen to, he tells my story in a way. It's one of the songs is called "Working Class Hero." It just really tells it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And then there's autobiographies in 5 short chapters, which is a really good one. It really tells it. And Indigenous prayer, which I say every day. It's one of the Mohawk First Nations peoples. There's 3 clans, and one of them is the Turtle Clan. And I read the Mother Turtle Spirit prayer every day. And that really, really helps me, focus. And I love things like Hopi elders speak, the Great River. That's an incredible thing. It tells you, kind of like how to live and how to change. There's some really good stuff in there.
Great.
Quotations to inspire you. If you're looking on my homepage of the website, try to make it simple and, so you're not rummaging around all the time. But there's a lot. I built this website myself, and you want to hear my poem in me speaking in a video, with Jim's videos. There's a documentary on there called "Sexual Abuse: Both Sides of the Coin." Mind you, it's when I was around my 30s, so I've got a little bit of edge of anger there yet.
Yeah.
But different things and what people are saying, and
great.
And I just won Courage to Come Back award this year.
I know. I saw that. Amazing. That's great.
So this whole website is about, people getting to know me and people that need help.
Okay.
I've shared these, of course, some of these I've got from other people that, I've learned through the thing. I can't quote them. I say, Joe Blow said this or that, but I've incorporated them in my life, and I'm just sharing them, and this is I'm Jim Mandelin sharing his experience, strength, and hope.
I'm glad you are. Okay, let me do this. I'm going to pause our, this is not part of the audio right here, the recording we'll use. At the very beginning of the episode of the podcast, we let the guest introduce themselves. So what will happen is we'll take a little clip out of the interview, and we don't really cut and paste the interviews around much at all. We try to make them as pure and clean as possible, just the way you said it. But this is the place we do take a clip. We'll find a quote of yours, and we'll put it at the very beginning of the episode, so they'll hear your voice saying, something about your story, and then they'll hear you say, "I'm Jim Mandelin, and I share hope." And that's how each interview starts. So I'm going to mute my microphone and let you say, "I'm Jim Mandelin, and I share hope."
Well, I'm going to say, I'm Jim Mandelin, and I share my experience, strength, and hope.
I can handle that. That sounds good.
Yeah, that's what I always say. That's my little term I always use.
That's great. Thank you.
No problem. Tell me when you're ready.
I'm ready. I'll be quiet over here.
Okay. I'm Jim Mandelin, and I share my experience, strength, and hope.
That's perfect. Thank you. Wow, that's great. Okay. Great. So tell me this. Just one or two last questions. If you are going to play any track, any piece of music, and you're going to just put it in the car, and you just got to make the sunshine come back out again in your head, what are you going to listen to? One song, one artist.
John Lennon.
I love John Lennon. Okay, and what song again?
Well, depends on the mood,
Yeah.
I mean, I like Windham Hill records and tapes. Windham Hill is a compilation of artists. Mm-hmm. If I want to really, they call it heavy mental music.
Yeah.
It makes you think, it makes you feel.
Yeah.
But just kind of, driving down the road, I like songs of hope. I like Nickelback songs, not all their songs, because they get some raunchy songs, but I like their songs, When We Stand Together.
Huh.
One of my favorite songs of all time.
Yeah, Nickelback, When We Stand Together. Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That big song. And John Lennon's songs, I don't know. I mean, I have such a wide... the only thing I don't really care for is country music.
Okay.
I guess as I kind of got spoiled growing up in the country, and everybody's listening to country, and it's, Your Cheating Heart, and
yeah.
I mean, I know country music has changed, and Garth Brooks and all these guys are now, but
sure,
I don't like the older ones.
Yeah. Well, if it's got roots to something that makes it not quite as fun, then yeah, I get that too. I could understand that. Well, Jim, you are just a fantastic guy for giving us 30 or 40 minutes of your time, and more than that, giving us so much of your life in such a short amount of time. And I have not heard anybody express their story as clearly and succinctly and chronologically as you did in your poem. Unbelievable presentation, and you're able to wrap it into some really practical application. And it's honest, and I appreciate it. I really appreciate it.
No, I appreciate it too, and you being a part of this, and encourage people to buy my book if they want to read, a little bit more deeper. I mean, it's the first book, so it's up to the point of me dying. And of course, I have in that book 21 questions kids have asked me in school that kind of show you that I have done some recovery work. But
yeah.
But that's how my book sales. And I haven't been in, I mean, you're only getting $1.97 a book. You have to sell a lot of books.
Oh, no kidding.
And the book sales, they actually sponsor my work.
Okay.
So,
we're going to point people to it, and I would really encourage anybody to go just check it out. Take a look. There's a lot in there, and particularly if you're struggling from something in your past, or someone who is. And really, if you're around youth, the youth of today just needs so much help, because there's just so much instability in their lives and so many questions. And we're reading way too many stories in the news about kids who are making really, really poor decisions. And, it's easy to gripe about that, but usually it's not because the kid just woke up one day and thought, I want to make some crappy decisions. There's pain going on back there, and there's ways to help. Right. There's ways to help people out without just...
You weren't born... You weren't, and no kids are born evil.
Yeah, I know. Unlike
my family told me.
Man, I'm glad you got away from them.
And I talk about it in my book. So
read the book. I'm getting it loud and clear. Absolutely. Read the book. Jim, it's a treat. Thank you for spending your time right after work on a Tuesday. I really do appreciate your time. I know you got a lot of demands, and I couldn't have had a better guy on here to tell us about hope and how it really works. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris, and keep in touch.
I will. It's good talking to you, sir.
Okay. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
You've just listened to I Share Hope. If you're ready to make a change, head to our website at isharehope.com and claim your free copy of the Top 10 Actions of Hope from World Leaders to use hope in your own life. Thanks for listening, and we'll talk to you next time.
Strength. I'm Jim Mandelin, and I share my experience, strength, and hope.
Welcome to I Share Hope, the podcast where world leaders share their real stories of hope and how you can use actionable hope to start changing your life today. And now, here's your host, Chris Williams.
Hello.
Jim, Chris Williams, how are you?
Hi, Chris.
Man, thanks for your time today.
How's the sound?
You sound great. Yeah, you sound really good. You're in a good spot, I think. Are you on a cell phone or is that a landline?
I have it's a cell phone, but it's I just finished work just about a minute ago. So I work till 5, so it works. And you have to forgive me. I work in an area where it's probably the busiest fire and rescue station down the street.
Oh, I like some background noise. That's good. It makes it real.
Yeah, that's good.
So, sir, can you just help me make sure I pronounce your name? So, Jim, and then say your last name so I get it exactly right.
Mandelin.
Mandelin, like the stringed instrument?
Yep, that's E instead of an O, but it still sounds the same.
Mandelin, I get you. Yeah. Well, I think you've seen the Interview 101 document that kind of walks you through how the interview works and what you can expect. Have you seen that?
Yeah.
Good. Well, I stick right to that. I mean, this is really easy. You've done a ton of public speaking, so I'm not worried about where you're going with this at all. You take it wherever you want, but I really just run through the 5 questions, and this is literally an international research project asking a cross-section of the globe the 5 questions to see what the answers come back at and see if we can really produce some sustainable hope and a way to train people and teach people how to take hope and to use it well in their communities, including me. Sure. Right.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
So hundreds and hundreds of kids, like high school kids that I have been working with for years, and I still am, and I just got an email probably last night, I think it was, our kids really hurting, and so been doing this on my own with no funding, because there's no funding for this unless you're a PhD, and then you get all kinds of funding, and then you do research projects, but it doesn't really help the kids.
Well, at the end of the interview, I want to make sure that we get to hear where we can track you down, because obviously pointing back to your website, social media, whatever you use, we'll send as many folks that way as we possibly can.
Well, that's good.
Yeah, thank you for your time. I'm glad to have you here. So let's jump in here and let me introduce you just real briefly, and then you tell us a little bit about yourself and what's going on, just whatever you ate for breakfast today or you.
Okay, sounds good.
I'm having fun doing it so far. So, and you're in Alberta, Canada right now. Is that where you live?
No, I'm in Vancouver, British Columbia.
Oh, wow. That's a beautiful area.
I grew up in Alberta, but I left there.
Wow.
Long ago.
That's right. I just saw it in your bio. So what do you do? What's your job right now?
Well, I do a number of jobs, but I have for about 27, 28 years now, have been going to schools, telling my story to kids, and basically drawing the kids that are, troubled kids out, and they contact me. I'd say not so much the ones that are already drug addicts and alcoholics, but more the ones that are more suicidal, ones that are really hurting.
Wow.
Not that the drug addicts and alcoholics aren't, but they're already medicating themselves. Extreme hopes are born from extreme misery. The deeper that sorrow carves into your being, the more joy you can contain. At 22, a drug and alcohol seizure led to my cardiac arrest, and I was pronounced dead. In this place of death, I had an epiphany, which brought me back to life. That was over 38 years ago now, and I am still here. With the help of some remarkable counselors, I forgave myself, my family, and I have moved on. I learned that hurt people hurt people. Now I dedicate my life to helping hurt people heal that hurt, especially kids. And I take pride in telling my story and becoming vulnerable. Vulnerability has become my greatest